Let's talk about objects and manipulating those objects. So first, let's zoom in here and look at these tools. We have the move tool, which allows you to surprisingly move objects around. The rotate tool allows you to rotate them. Scale tool allows you to resize items. And the reset tool allows you to obviously reset rotation and scale. The next button is snap to ground. So when your object is below or above the ground level, with this you can bring it to the table surface level, so to speak. That's the level where you see this grid here. And there's a box snap tool which allows you to snap your objects to other objects, and they're bounding boxes, which is why it's called a box snap tool. When you edit objects, remember that Dized tools don't have an undo feature right now. So any change that you make is permanent. Save often, and if you make a really big mistake, just exit without saving and then come back to the editor. Next, let's talk about this grid. You can see the grid that is representing the table level. And these lines are 2 centimeters from each other. And that is a sort of grid that pre-exists in this world. And it actually goes to 3 dimensions, although you don't see the vertical ones here. But you can snap your elements to it. First of all, when you're moving an object around, we'll talk about these axles a bit later on. But if you hold down Shift, your object will jump in 2 centimeter jumps. So right now, if I move this and I'm holding down Shift, it jumps around like this. Now, if I click Shift S, this object jumps its anchor point, which is this this dot right here, to the nearest grid point. So let's say I have this on the table level here, and I click Shift S. Now it snapped from this anchor point to the nearest grid point there. This means that now if I move, for example, this, let's bring that very close and snap it to the same grid point here. Now they are exactly in the same location. And this, for example, now allows me to very easily, I'm holding down Shift and moving this meeple. This allows me to put these meeples very easily in if I need to align them with each other. Oops, I'm not just getting the grid point there. So creating aligned things with this is very handy. Now, other way to do this is to use the box snap toggle. And I'm going to demonstrate this with the cubes as it's a bit more easier. So I'll select the cube, and I now put the snap tool on. And you can see that now it's trying to get me to grab one of these corners. So I can grab a corner, and when I bring it near another other object, it will snap to one of these extremities of that object. So this allows, for example, especially tile-based games, it's very easy to put stuff next to each other and lay them out like that. You can also use the holding down Shift when you resize objects. So that helps you sometimes when you have multiple objects you want to resize and you want to resize them the same amount. Okay, let's see how you add and delete objects. So this is very easy. Adding, just hover the object in the library, click down, drag it into the scene and let go. This is how you add objects. This here is a source object, and when you drag it into the scene, a clone is created. So all of these are a clone of this original that you can see here. Deleting is just selecting the object and clicking delete on your keyboard. You can select multiple ones and delete them all at once. So let's look more specifically of these move, rotate, and scale tools. Move tool allows you to move your object in 2 dimensions at a time, because your mouse only moves in 2 dimensions at a time. So you can select 2 of these dimensions with these squares in the middle, or move the object in 1 individual dimension at a time. So this is how you move them around. This allows you to, again, snap to the table level, so it brings the object onto the table. And rotating. here it's kind of the same thing. You can rotate the object in one of these individual dimensions, and this rotates it in 15-degree steps. So obviously 90-degree turn is 6 of these steps. You can also use this round circle, which rotates it, I think, in all dimensions at once. And if you just click here in the middle, where you see that this cursor goes a bit darker, you can freely rotate it to any direction. But obviously this is a bit difficult because now it's rotating in 3D space, but I only have the 2D mouse that moves in 2D space. So rotating objects like this is a lot more difficult, which is why you have these individual axles that you can use for rotating objects. And finally, resizing, same thing. You can resize the object in any one dimension or all of the dimensions at once. And this allows you to reset the object to its original size. And finally, leveling and doing fine adjustments. So let's, for example, say that I want to stack 3 meeples onto each other. And if I did it right here, it would be quite difficult. So what I'll actually do, let me zoom in a bit here. I'm gonna change my camera point to a side view. So I have this 3D compass here. So I'm gonna switch this. Let's rotate it around. So I can just turn this view to any of the side, or from the bottom, or from the top. So let's take the side view, and I'm gonna switch now to orthographic view. Right now I have perspective here. I'm gonna switch to orthographic. So for example, I can see that this meeple is clearly behind these other 2 meeples there. So let me switch to orthographic view, and now it's more difficult to tell. Well, you can still tell from the graphic, but the perspective is gone. But this now allows me to very easily, for example, stack these meeples onto each other if I wanted to build some sort of structure out of these meeples. So this is where the side view, for example, is very handy, and the orthographic angle. So this is switched with this middle button here in the compass rows. And here we can see that right now in this they look like they are on top of each other, but if we look from another direction, we can actually see that they weren't really on top of each other. So I can do this fine adjustment here. So now they are neatly stacked stacked together, and we can take a look right here. So fine adjustments are very handy to do with the orthographic side view if you're building tiles into a stack or doing these sort of actions. So this is how you manipulate objects in the content editor.